Good evening, Madam Mayor and Town Council members, and as well to everybody here tonight. I just wanted to say that upon noting that Ordinance 2015-05 is on tonight's agenda, I sought to read it on the Township website, but the download does not work, making this information unavailable to the public. So I was wondering if you could just please brief those of us in attendance tonight of the entire scope of that ordinance.
And when I get to it, I will. We have a public hearing on it tonight, so when we get to it, I'd be happy to do that. And I do regret that you couldn't access it, and if you had called, we would have checked it. So we'll follow up and check on that.
Okay, I just wanted to state for the record that I was hoping for a bit more transparency. I thought maybe you could say something before the public hearing so that the public would have some time to hear about it. I believe that the residents of East Windsor deserve this kind of transparency, and I just want to state for the record that if I were ever to serve on this town council, that kind of transparency would certainly be a priority of mine. And I should like to state for the record additionally that I believe if these meetings were filmed and the website was fully functional and up to date with detailed minutes, that the council wouldn't have to answer these kinds of questions. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Okay. And briefly, what the intent of the ordinance is, as it indicates, it is an ordinance that pertains to abandoned and vacant properties that are in the process of undergoing foreclosure. So what this provides is that once a creditor bank commences a process of foreclosing a home because somebody has not paid their mortgage, if that property becomes vacant and abandoned during the time of the foreclosure, the ordinance provides the means by which the municipality can hold the creditor bank responsible for the exterior maintenance of the property until such time as the foreclosure is complete, because at that point the bank would in fact become the owner of the property. There is a process set forth in the ordinance by which the banks are required to notify the town and to register with the town with respect to properties that they are in the process of foreclosing on, that are then deemed vacant and abandoned, and which allow the town, if conditions on the exterior of the property, such as grass and shrubbery become overgrown, or windows become broken, or fences in disrepair, or roofs become problematic, that it allows the town to send a notice to the bank notifying them of the conditions and requesting that they rectify those conditions. If they do not do so within the time allocated, then the town is authorized to issue a summons to the bank and to impose fines until the conditions are remedied. This ordinance was enabled by a state law, a new state law that was passed in late 2014, generating from what is a problem in communities throughout the state of New Jersey, where owners have left the property, and sometimes they perhaps bought at a time that the equity is less than the amount that they may now own on the house, and have abandoned the house, and the condition of the house deteriorates, which leaves the community and the neighbors in a situation of having to live within those conditions, and sometimes those conditions in fact present safety problems. So this enables the town to be able to hold somebody responsible, because one of the challenges for the town is finding the owner, or finding somebody responsible to clean up the property and to correct these conditions. So that's basically what the thrust of the ordinance is, and its purpose and how it would work. So we did introduce the ordinance on April 7th, 2015. We set the public hearing for tonight, and at this point, I would declare the public hearing open on ordinance 2015-05. Mr. O'Connor.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Town Council, just if I might ask a few questions. I would like to know first, if we could just get a little bit more specific. I'm curious, does the ordinance say anything about a minimum or maximum of with respect to the fines that could possibly be imposed?
Ask all your questions, okay, and then we'll see what we can respond to.
Okay, so for example, I would like to know about if there's any statement in the ordinance about minimum or maximum fines. If so, I'd like to know how you get to those numbers. If not, I'd like to know why not. Also, I'd like to know if you could just say a little bit about specifically how you define what you might consider like a poorly kept exterior versus not. If you could just be very specific and explain maybe where you got those standards from exactly, I would quite appreciate that. And if perhaps we could elaborate on that before there's any kind of vote. Thank you very much.
So with respect to the questions, the conditions are those that would constitute municipal code violations. Those are contained in our township ordinances, and they would need to be cited specifically with respect to any of the conditions. With respect to minimum or maximum fines, they are in fact contained in the ordinance. They comply with what the town is allowed to provide for in a municipal ordinance, and the actual amounts would be determined by the municipal court judge once a summons was issued and the case was heard in municipal court.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure I understood it. So there is or is not in the ordinance a specific minimum and maximum? I did hear that you said that a judge would ultimately be able to make that decision, but in the ordinance, is there a minimum and maximum?
There are penalties specified in the ordinance.
Could you mind sharing for the public some of those numbers, please?
$2,000, which can be imposed on a per violation and a per day. That's up to the discretion of the municipal court judge.
And could you just briefly explain how you got to the number of 2,000?
That is our normal fine amount provided for in our ordinance book.
So where did you, I was just curious where that number came from prior to that.
Mr. Orman.
I'm sorry? Oh.
Mr. Orman, want to address the fine amount, please?
Yeah, there are, as a general provision of the municipal ordinances, that unless otherwise specified, if there's a violation of an ordinance section, that the municipal court can impose a fine up to $2,000. That's the amount that's in this ordinance, so it's consistent with the general penalty ordinance. And of course, the amount of the ordinance is determined by the judge based upon the severity of the situation and the efforts of the party to remedy whatever the violation might be.
So the 2,000 is the maximum that you're allowed by state law to impose?
By our ordinance.
By your ordinances. So what made you decide to go to the maximum, out of curiosity?
It provides the municipal court judge with maximum flexibility to impose the fine that he believes to be appropriate in the particular case.
Do you believe $2,000 is a good...
Here's the deal. I want you to finish your questions, okay? This is a public hearing, and I appreciate your questions. So ask us all your questions, and then we'll see how we can best be. So, we'll see if anybody else would like to address the ordinance.
Okay, I appreciate that. Again, just wanted to know, like, for example, if maybe you could have chosen 1,000 or 500. Obviously, 2,000's a lot of money, and it may cost people a lot of money, and this is a time of economic hardship. So I just was curious why you would want to impose the maximum permittable as opposed to maybe showing a little bit more flexibility. I was just curious, that's all.
Is there anyone else in the public that would like to comment during the public hearing on this ordinance? Yes, if you could give your name and address, please.
Deborah Warfield, 9 Ivy Lane East.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering how you can find out the status of a vacant property, if it is in foreclosure or being foreclosed upon. And then 2, who do you go to when you have complaints about the property and its appearance?
Mr. Warren?
By state law, anytime a bank forecloses on a property, they're required to serve notice on the clerk's office of the foreclosure proceedings, so the clerk's office maintains a list, which is public record. You'd be welcome to inquire at the clerk's office about the status of any pending foreclosures on a particular
And with
property.
respect to any complaints, they would normally, you would call traditionally the municipal health department and make them aware of the complaints. And then somebody would. Okay.
Just one last question then.
Please, if you would, ask to recognize anyone else. Mr. O'Connor.
I just wanted to know then if you wanted to state on the record why you chose to impose in the literature of the ordinance the maximum permittable by state law as opposed to another amount. Just curious if you wanted to elaborate on that.
I'll address that.
Thank you.
Excuse me, please. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to comment on the ordinance first? Do you have any other questions, Mr. O'Connor, and that will be addressed? Is there anything further?
I mean, if I don't understand you, I would ask, but otherwise, no, that's it.
Okay, very good. So at this point, I'm going to close the public hearing on the ordinance. The amount that's specified is chosen as we indicated because that is the general penalty amount that is contained in our ordinance. It is within the discretion of the municipal court judge to determine the amount. And if I might just clarify, because the question didn't seem to understand that the ordinance refers to banks. These are creditor banks that are being regulated pursuant to this ordinance. It's not Mr. Smith and Mrs. Jones. So that's who the process that is set forth in this ordinance that's being considered tonight would apply to. So at this point, I would turn to see if there are additional comments from the municipal budget. Anybody would like to comment?
I'd like to ask a question, if I may.
You may.
Okay, should I say?
Just give your name and address.
Sure. Sean O'Connor, 152 Hickory Corner Road, apartment 313, East Windsor, New Jersey, 08520. So the first question I have would be, with respect to the way you put the budget together, I know that in previous years you do a lot of bonding, upwards of $1 million a year sometimes. And so I was just wondering, when you think about putting the budget together, do you think about necessary expenditures that you might anticipate that would basically save us from having to issue any bonds?
Do you have anything further that you comments on the 2015 municipal budget?
Well, that's my general question for now.
Is there anyone else in the public that would like to comment with respect to the 2015 municipal budget?
I actually do have one last question then, if I may. I was curious, are you going to answer this question after you close the public hearing, or are you going to answer it before the public hearing is finished? Because if you're going to answer it after the public hearing is finished, then it would seem that it's not much of a public hearing. I just wanted to state the opinion and ask the question.
The public hearing is closed on the municipal budget, and if I might do two things, I'll answer the comment and also note that the public hearing is an opportunity for the public to make comments. It's not for a singular debating society. So let me try to respond to the question. The budget that is up for consideration and adoption tonight is our municipal operating budget. There is nothing in tonight's vote that is bonding or borrowing or incurring any debt. It covers the operating expenses of the municipality. The capital budget, which may incur a borrowing process, is a separate process. The capital budget is used for purchase of large capital equipment that has a long life and would be traditionally paid off over the life of the equipment or the purchase, much as people do their homes or vehicles and so forth. This is an operating budget tonight. So at this point, I would open it to members. Because first of all, let me see if there's any motion or second. Then I'd open it for comments. Mr. Rosenberg.
I'd like to move the resolution.
Mr. Zoller.
And I'll second.
For adoption of the budget. Any comments by council? So I'm going to make a few with respect to tonight's budget. Okay, so we'll point out that tonight's 2015 operating budget contains no tax increase. This would be for the second consecutive year that the budget contains no municipal tax increase. Thus, the municipal component of the local property tax bill remains the same for 2015, 2014, and 2013 at .431 year 6 cents for $100 of assessed valuation. For the 2015 average residential assessment of $258,351, the 2015 municipal tax would be $1,115. I would also point out that the municipal component of the total property tax bill will remain at approximately or under 50% of the total bill, and the municipal component of the tax bill is one of the lowest municipal components in the region, well below the average in the state of New Jersey. The 2015 municipal tax levy is well below the amount that is available to the municipality. In fact, if the municipal government utilized the municipal cap levy allowances, it would enable the town to increase the tax rate by almost 6 cents more. We're not doing that, but that allowance does exist. It's a fiscally conservative and responsible budget document which well serves our community. It retains all of our existing service levels and employees. And again, in what have been challenging times for municipal governments as well as individuals throughout our state, we are proud of the fact that we've worked hard to keep our spending levels tight, to seek further savings wherever possible, and identify additional revenue sources. And we maintain a strong commitment as an administration to continually seek out additional efficiencies, cooperative purchasing avenues, and service sharing opportunities. The township maintains a very low debt level and is proactive in efforts to carefully plan and closely monitor expenditures and revenues throughout the year. We've also been extremely fortunate to experience very positive business growth in East Windsor Township, and have started off certainly in 2015, ending 2014, and starting off 2015 with a number of very positive and significant business announcements, such as the opening of Smashburger, Arcade Jewelers, the coming of Patel Brothers Grocery and the former Denardi's, the reopening by Aldi of the former Bottom Dollar store, as well as very major commercial projects such as Arabindo and a further Shiseido America expansion. So it's a very solid document and one that we've worked hard to put together. We thank the staff for their assistance in those efforts, as well as our departments for carefully monitoring and maintaining their spending levels throughout the performance of their services to the community as well. Yeah. Mr. Yeager.
I would just comment that, I mean, I think we're all grateful and thankful that the budget has increased, but, I mean, there's, you know, the budgets can always not increase, but services can also decline to cover that. And I think it's a big accomplishment that we're able to maintain our services in the budget. I mean, one of the things that residents tell me is that they appreciate our police and our municipal works and all those other services that we provide. I'm glad that we can maintain those for the residents.
Good. Other comments? Good. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, on the 2015 municipal operating budget.
Mr. Duke?
Yes.
Mr. Lippman?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Shapiro?
Yeah.
Mr. Yeager?
Yes.
Mr. Zoll?
Yes.
Mayor Mironov?
Yes. Resolution R 2015-41.
Michael Foley, 6 Barrington Drive, Princeton Junction. Mayor, I think it's great that so many people attended your event this evening. Obviously, they think you're doing something right, even though others will disagree. I, as many other citizens, like to hold our elected officials accountable for their actions and obviously their decisions. Even though your job description by township ordinance is to conduct council meetings, we know that you've made yourself more than that. Since holding our elected officials is not only the right thing to do, it allows for transparency. With that being said, I'd like to schedule a meeting with you and whoever else you would like in attendance, as long as you notify me of such individuals beforehand. I'd like to schedule this meeting before the next council meeting, preferably in the afternoon. In addition, ambulance response times have been between 15 and 30 minutes, with national standards and best practices stating an ambulance should be on scene within 8 minutes. I hope I never need an ambulance while Rescue 2 is on a vacation, because I pray for the residents and senior citizens in East Windsor. Services are obviously being affected, and it's not my belief, it's simply the fact. Thank you.
Thank you.
Real quick. Is there anyone else that had something?
Let me see.
Sorry.
Yeah. Jonathan Wassett, 175 Canterbury Court, East Windsor, New Jersey. I meant to ask a question before, but I missed my opportunity. The municipal budget, I assume that contribution money is designated within the municipal budget. I would like to know when the contribution is given to departments, whether it's the fire departments or the rescue squads or any other departments in East Windsor, what type of contingencies are set on the money, how the money is supposed to be spent, whether there are actual laws that pertain to these, or if it's just a belief of the township of how they're supposed to be spent and how they like to put the contingencies on it after they've been spent. So I just want a written document. And everything we've been asking for from this point moving forward, anybody from the rescue squad, you guys are council and the mayor, and you guys should, I understand whatever's going on, that there may be some type of, I guess, distance between us, but at the same time, you guys are accountable to the residents the same way we're accountable to the residents. In the words of the chief of police, everybody's accountable to somebody. So I would like an actual documentation sent to my house or to the rescue squad as to where the money is supposed to be spent and a breakdown of it. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Go ahead, it's all you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just a question, if I may.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Do I need to say my address again?
Please.
Okay, Sean O'Connor, 152 Hickory Corner Road, apartment
Move
313.
while we were saying.
East Windsor, New Jersey, 8520. This is a question for you, Councilman Shapiro, specifically. I couldn't quite hear. You said something about, you were discussing something about a warehouse versus a sports facility. I just couldn't make out exactly what you said. If you could just clarify that and maybe say something about that.
The two concept proposals. One was for a warehouse, one was for a sports facility. But just to get the impression of the planning board, whether they get an idea whether they would go further with the additional expenses to actually make it implementation. That's the purpose of it.
Anybody else? If not, I'm going to close the matters for public.